Hi everyone, Smitty here. I found this interesting study the other day. I believe it came out back in about 2011 and it's called Obesity and Energy Balance. Is the Tail Wagging the Dog? Now that title really piqued my interest. There were a lot of parts of the study that I enjoyed, liked thinking about. It was a lot to do with low carb, a little bit of some low carb beliefs and stuff in there. But just because you don't agree or believe 100% of something doesn't mean you can't enjoy parts of it and get you thinking. So I've copied this part from the excerpt in the abstract. This conceptual model implicates chronic hyperinsulinemia in the presence of a paradoxical state of cellular, did I say paradoxical, right? Paradoxical state of cellular starvation. So the idea that the obese people or people with an obese metabolism could be hungry, starved, their cells are starved. And that could be, according to them, they're just exploring the idea, the key driver of metabolic modifications inducing chronic weight gain. So weight gain stemming from being starving. Interesting, right? Let's go on to the next slide. So just quickly, the reason this piqued my interest so much, or maybe the reason this even came across my timeline, came across me in the first place is I just wrote a blog last week on my website. It's called A Stressed Chicken Lays a Stressed Egg, Hatches a Stressed Chicken, and exploring the idea of what came first, chicken or the egg. Not trying to figure out that question philosophically really, but there's a lot of parts in life where I believe if we just remember we don't know what came first, chicken or the egg, we can use that to broaden our knowledge or search for different answers. So in this blog that I wrote, I was correlating it or using the analogy of chicken or the egg to talk about stress hormones creating stressful things rather than the stressful things creating the stress hormones, which came first. So check that out if you want to read that, victorianstrengthclub.com.au/blog. I just thought I'd quickly put that in there. Okay, so in this study, Is the Tail Wagging the Dog, I came across this, an analogy to illustrate the dual direction of causation between energy balance and energy stores. I'm just going to read the last part at the bottom here first. Neither of these perspectives, so I'll go through this in a second, but it gives you two different scenarios, and neither of them contradicts the energy balance equation. Okay, so a big thing when you start trying to talk to people or bring up that calories might not be the be all end all, that weight gain or weight loss or obesity might not just be calories in, calories out, that person that you're talking to will likely argue the law of thermodynamics, and these analogies don't just neglect thermodynamics and the energy balance equation, but they just give a different perspective of how we're looking at it. Okay, so I just thought I'd start with that part there. Let me read the top. To differentiate clearly the two possible directions of causality that emerge from the fundamental association between positive energy balance and gaining energy stores, we use an analogy between the human body and a motor vehicle. So that's what they're going to do is I'll read out these two analogies. Well, it's one analogy, but we're comparing a human body to a motor vehicle, which is extremely different. I'm not saying that it actually works like this, but that's what analogies are for, just to get you thinking differently. In this analogy, movement of the car, so the car driving, is a proxy for physical activity, while filling the petrol tank is a proxy for dietary energy intake, so how much fuel you're putting in the car, how much fuel we're putting in us. How much petrol is in the tank, and we're going to assume no upper limit for this, just like humans don't have an actual energy tank, like people do seem to be eating more and more and more, so they mustn't have an upper limit. How much petrol is in the tank is an upper limit, is a proxy for body fat stores. Okay, hope you're still with me. You're going to love it. It's going to get you thinking. Let's go on to the analogy. Okay, I hope you can appreciate the pictures that I got from Google. So this one is looking at your from behavior to energy stores. Your behavior dictates your body fat levels. That's the calories in, calories out model, right? So this is saying the calories in, calories out model. Imagine a person who regularly uses the car. Whenever there is somewhere she wants to go, sorry, I read that wrong. Whenever there is somewhere she wants to go, periodically, but only when the level in the tank is low, she refills the tank with petrol, as most of us do. At any given time, how much petrol is in the tank is a product of how far the car is driven relative to when it is filled up. And this is the direct consequence of two decisions, driving and filling of the driver. Okay, so pretty self-explanatory, I hope. So if it's in the middle here, we can say, well, you've filled up, we know you filled up this much and you've used this much energy. So it's really easy to measure in this, okay? Because yeah, she's got two behaviors. driving and filling. So we can see, okay, we know you filled up every time, you filled up when it was here, and now you got this much left, so I can tell that you've driven this far. Pretty easy. If we want to change the amount of petrol in the tank, we just advise her to change one of those two behaviors. Okay, I want the energy to be here. Cool, I'll fill up and now it's there. Or, okay, next time I fill up, I'll only drive to here, then stop. It's very easy to change this. The calories in, calories out, we're assuming that it's just so easy to change because we've only got two inputs, driving and filling. This is an analogy of the energy balance perspective on obesity, calories in, calories out. That voluntary behavior, the way you choose to do things, is central to physical activity and dietary intake, and that body fatness reflects these behaviors. And I've written that over here. Your body fat reflects your behavior. So when you look at someone's body fat, you can tell, well, they've eaten too much and moved too little. Their body fat reflects that. I can tell their behavior. I can tell what they've done in the past. Just like this here. I hope that's making sense. I hope I brought that all together. We can tell if it's right in the middle. I can tell what you've done recently, because I know you fill up to here and it goes down to here. So you haven't just filled up a little bit, because we stated that they're always filling the tank when it gets empty, right? So I hope that makes sense. That's the calories in, calories out model simplified in this analogy. Let's move on to the other one. Okay, we're flipping it around from energy stores to behavior. What came first, chicken or the egg? Remember, this is the tail wagging the dog. What's in control here? The calories or the behavior? Or which came first? Now imagine that the driver's inclination, both to take the car out and refill it, is strongly influenced by whether she puts diesel or petrol in the engine. Okay, so we're adding a variable here. Let's just pretend that what fuel you put in the car matters. Okay, whether you don't believe that or not, are you able to pretend or explore? Okay, to imagine. Can you use your imagination? Big part of being smart is being able to use your imagination. Is strongly influenced by whether she puts diesel or petrol in the car. Filling with petrol allows the driver to drive as she wishes and to fill up only when the tank is almost empty, just like person one. Whereas filling with diesel, so putting something that's not made for the car, makes the car sluggish, driving very slow, if at all, crawling. So that she becomes so bored with crawling slowly along. And yet paradoxically, so oppositely, keen to fill the tank again, because it's still going to run low, and the behavior that she's used to is to drive and fill up and things like that when it's empty. So I want to go over this. Filling the car makes it drive sluggish. So imagine you're driving, or the person two is driving along and just stuck in traffic, late for work every day, can't even get to work. That is now going to dictate this person's behavior. So everything at the start was the same. They wake up, they've lived the same life forever. One goes to put diesel in and continues to put diesel in, let's say. And now that is going to dictate their behavior. They're getting bored, they're late for work, so maybe they get angry, or negative things happen because that car was supposed to get them somewhere and now it's not. Okay? So changing that one variable, sliding doors fashion, we've put something different in the car, and now it's going to change a lot of the behaviors. Yet paradoxically, keen to fill the tank again, because it is going to be empty. And use your imagination here. You can either say that it's going to be empty of diesel, or it's still going to say that it's empty of fuel. If you put diesel in and it's not made for the car, it's going to say empty of fuel. So you're going to keep putting more in, going sluggish, putting more in. So it changes your behaviors. Now you're filling up more. Now you're not getting as far. Now you're late for work. So you can see that one change that we made has changed the behaviors. This is an analogy of the metabolic perspective rather than the energy balance perspective, where the level of appetite and physical activity is sensitive to the metabolic effects of the diet. The driver's behavior is in large part a consequence, not a cause. They're not filling up more regularly because they're a bad person. Okay, the car is saying empty. They're not late to work because they're a bad person, but there are consequences to what they've put in the tank. So I've written here, your body fat dictates your behavior rather than being a reflection of. So if you're obese, if we see an obese person, we don't have to say they've obviously eaten too much and moved too little. That could be the case. It'd be pretty hard, is my understanding. But we could say that person started getting an obese metabolism, which encouraged them to keep eating. And by encouraged, I mean strong signals to the brain, strong hormonal signals to the brain that dictated their behavior. It said, slow, I don't have energy, so I need you to stop moving so much. Also, my cells are starved, please eat. So you've got hunger signals and signals to slow down. And now your behavior is dictated by your body fat. So just back to the last part, again, neither of these perspectives contradicts the energy balance equation, and yet if the second were true, just if, play the game, if it mattered what we ate compared to how much, if there were some foods out there that really did hurt your metabolism by hurting the cells and many other things, if that were true, which I believe, and many others, but if it's true, applying the first version would ascribe, so put too much influence on energy stores to voluntary decisions regarding physical activity and appetite. So if this one's true, the second approach, it shifts the attention from one target, how much people eat, to another, what should they eat? And that's my point of bringing this. That's the great part of this analogy. I know a lot of people are still going to believe calories in, calories out matters, and we can still believe that it does. We can still say, yes, the amount that you eat does matter. But if you're putting the wrong things in, it is going to result in a change of behavior, which makes it impossible to keep your calories lower than your outtake. You're going to eat more because your body's telling you to, and you're going to move less because your body's telling you to. So it still matters. But we're saying to obese people, stop being lazy, stop eating so much, and move more. And their body, the hormonal signals from their brain or from their gut to their brain, is not letting them do that, at least not long term, enough for it to actually matter. So I appreciated this analogy. I thought I would share it with people. Let me know what you think. Let me know if it's convinced you or changed you, or maybe you're like me, just like enjoying using your brain and thinking, and you don't have to commit to either of these. Maybe the answer is something else. But through thinking of things and using your brain and using your imagination to play with a bit of both, you might be the one to figure out exactly what's going on here. Okay? Thanks for checking out the video, and I'll chat to you guys soon.